When I found you in the wreckage of that ship, I considered leaving you. I was afraid you could bring trouble to us.
What do you think they want?
Everything.
We're just farmers. We're not a threat. They won't just kill us, will they?
You're delusional. You think those soldiers will show them mercy? Stop. We're gonna have to fight.
We might stand a chance.
We're searching for soldiers for a fight against the Mother World. I am a child of war. I find warriors to fight with us.
I could help you. For a small fee, obviously.
I'm here to make you an offer.
You may want to hold on.
Give you a chance at redemption.
We are beyond redemption.
What about revenge? This isn't just pursuit of revolution.
I have found her. The most wanted fugitive in the known universe.
It's a new age for the universe.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my new Rebel Moon trailer video. This is Zack Snyder's new sort of Star Wars-inspired movie. He explained some of the origins of the film, too. It actually started life as a Star Wars movie that he changed, obviously, to remove all the Star Wars copyrighted stuff. But you can see a lot of similarities here. Like, it's a bit of Seven Samurai mixed with Battle Beyond the Stars and his original Star Wars pitch movie that he was going to make before he made all of his DC movies. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The actual movie is coming at the end of December, closer to Christmas. This is just part one of a two-part movie. I think the idea is they're trying to create a franchise, like he's got sequels in mind. There's already a prequel anime that they're making about a couple of the characters involving like Ray Fisher's character. I'll explain that during the video. But part one is called Child of Fire. It's a reference to Korra because the first movie is kind of like her origin story. There are a bunch of flashbacks with her in the trailer. Part two is called The Scar Giver, which is also probably a reference to Korra's character as well. Speaking of the name Korra, that will remind you of Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra. I did videos for that back in the day. We just got the live-action Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer video. I did a much bigger breakdown video of that, so I'll link it down below in the description. That's also coming in February. So there's like a bunch of big Netflix stuff they were doing because of Geek Week. So that's why there's so many Netflix trailers just in general right now. Zack Snyder was also really good about getting really deep on the lore and explaining what's going on during the actual movie. Generally, he's got a couple big franchises that he's working on at Netflix. Like he's still making his Army of the Dead sequel movies. There'll be another one coming out pretty soon. This Rebel Moon universe of stories is like the other big story universe that he's creating. So in success, like if everything goes well, I think with these first two movies, they'll just continue making sequels and spin-offs as part of this. The whole idea is that Sofia Boutella's Korra character used to be this soldier, like a really high-ranking person inside the Imperial Army. We're making more Star Wars metaphors here. You have to imagine this is kind of what his Star Wars movie might have wound up looking like. During the flashbacks in the trailer, you see her referencing being a child of fire. That's a reference to the actual title of the movie. At some point during one of their campaigns, they were forced to commit a bunch of atrocities. It basically scarred her for life, and she decided to basically leave the Empire, live this quiet, peaceful life on the planet called Velt, which is where the movie picks up. This is where we get sort of into the Seven Samurai plot, where the Empire is basically like a David and Goliath scenario where they come to destroy the planet because of what happens as you see during the trailer. At the beginning of the trailer here, where you see the Imperial ships coming to the town on Veld, this is just the Empire coming to normally take food from the planet because it's a member of the Empire. Like all their different colony worlds are basically subject to the Empire in that they have to give any kind of resources the Empire might need. They're in the middle of fighting campaigns all over the rest of the known universe, trying to conquer it slowly. They need food, so they're coming to this planet to take some. So at the beginning of the movie, they have no idea that this really important person who used to be part of their army, Korra, is living there. They're just there randomly to get more food. In the way that Zack Snyder explained it is that Korra knows all about the Empire, their tactics, and she knows that them showing up is a really bad thing for this town, but the townspeople have no idea what's going on. They actually think that it's good that the Empire's there, like, oh yay, the Empire's recognizing us. And she basically has to catch them up like, no, this is very bad that they're here. They're going to destroy your world. They're basically going to strip mine it of all of its resources. It seems like at least at first the townspeople don't really believe what she's talking about until she decides to leave. Like she's, okay, fine, I'm going to leave this planet so the Empire won't find me. And this scene here where she stops the Imperial soldiers from abusing this girl is as she's trying to leave the town, but she stops to save this girl and sort of sets off the events of the movie. Zack Snyder also said this scene here where the townspeople show up and see her slaughtering these soldiers, it's because they're coming to welcome them. Like they think it's a good thing that they're here, but they show up and see her just completely eviscerating them. So she and the girl basically catch them up, and the Empire winds up finding out what happened to their men on the planet. Thus comes Ed Skrein's character. They basically come to wipe the planet off the map, thus the David and Goliath reference that Zack Snyder was making earlier. Korra having to go around collecting a team, Seven Samurai style, to protect the village. Everybody will recognize Corey Stoll here from the Marvel Ant-Man movies. I'm not exactly sure who he's playing in the context of the movie. He seems just like a normal villager here, like one of the normal farmers. Ed Skrein is Admiral Noble. He's the leader of the Empire's forces on Motherworld, the throne world of the Empire. There are a couple shots of the throne world during the trailer. But when the movie picks up, he's on a special side mission to find the rebels in this part of the galaxy who have claimed independence from the Empire. If we're talking about Star Wars metaphors here, it's basically the leaders of the rebellion. These people behind him that look all freaky are called scribes. They write down the history of the galaxy, but it's the history as the Empire wants it to seem. So like they write down the wrong history, like they don't write down what actually wound up happening. It's one of those metaphors where like the written history actually favors the victor. So like whoever winds up winning these grand battles is the person who actually records history as they want it to be recorded. Some of you probably noticed the Daario versus Daario Game of Thrones scene we have here, like the two versions of Daario actually facing each other. If you didn't watch the original Game of Thrones series, when the Daario character debuted during Game of Thrones Season 3, Ed Skrein played the character, but when they got to Game of Thrones Season 4, they recast the character with Huisman here. So for the most part, especially if you only watch the later seasons of Game of Thrones, you just remember him as Daario Naharis. Within the context of the story, he's just a regular farmer from Veld. He didn't used to be part of the Imperial Army or have any kind of dark past. He's just like a normal farmer dedicated to helping his people here at the village. In the way that Zack Snyder explained, he's kind of like the audience POV character, the person who has absolutely no skills as a soldier, like he's not a fighter or anything like that. He just sort of gets swept up in the action and doing heroic things, kind of like the Luke Skywalker character when Star Wars picks up. But unlike Star Wars, he's not like secretly related to anybody really famous inside this universe. So once the Empire learns about what happens to their soldiers, they get ready to come back in force. Korra takes Gunner to the other colonies to put this team together. Starting with Charlie Hunnam's character, who's called Kai. He's meant to be like a pilot, a mercenary. They call him a fixer, quote-unquote, in this universe. He's like a Han Solo type. Like the scoundrel who winds up helping them and doing good things, even though he has a bit of a shady past. The whole idea is he's meant to have this network of contacts that they use to help them. He's probably connected to the rebellion, too. It's his ship that they use to go around collecting everyone else. Then they go to this planet with the Colosseum, which is exactly what it looks like, where they have regular matches. She winds up finding what seems like a couple of characters here, most notably Djimon Hounsou's General Titus, who kind of reminds you of him during the Gladiator movie. Very similar situation there. In the context of this movie, he's another former Imperial general who's like this master tactician who I believe also grew remorseful about the atrocities that he committed in the name of the Empire, went AWOL, then in disgrace wound up fighting inside the Colosseum, so like he was forced to fight in the Colosseum. The other character they find in the Colosseum here, this gladiator arena, is called Tarak. He's a super capable fighter. He's meant to be a former member of a noble family, but after his family had a run-in with Motherworld, he wound up owing a life debt to a rancher for whom he worked as an indentured servant. So the idea is when the movie picks up, he initially refuses to join the Velt Resistance, but then eventually winds up being convinced to help them. During the movie, this giant bird creature that he winds up trying to tame is called the Bennu. Basically, the idea is that it's a wild creature. He's trying to tame it. It's kind of like an Avatar situation. This person might seem familiar. This is Ray Fisher's Darien Bloodaxe. This woman is his sister in the movie called Devra. They're the leaders of the revolutionaries. The way that Zack Snyder explained it, his sister Devra does like the actual day-to-day leading of the revolution, like Mon Mothma style. There are a bunch of battle scenes with them too. The prequel anime that they're actually making in the next couple of years is called The House of Bloodaxe, which is probably going to explain how the rebellion, the resistance, started with Ray Fisher's character and his sister. That'll probably release sometime around 2025. They haven't really said. This woman with the lightsabers is called Nemesis. She's just a really experienced swordswoman. Zack Snyder said the swords are made of molten metal, I think to avoid the lightsaber or copyright issues. So they don't really work like lightsabers, like they're molten metal, they're not energy blades. That's why the actual physics of the blades looks a little bit different. The spider character that you see her fighting is actually Jenna Malone in heavy makeup, who's worked on a bunch of other Zack Snyder movies like Batman v Superman. She's also in one of his upcoming Army of the Dead sequels too. In the movie, her character is named Harmada. She lives on one of the Imperial mining worlds called Dagas, and they don't really explain why she gets into this fight with Nemesis. This robot is Anthony Hopkins. In the movie, his name is Jimmy. He's like a JC class robot, which is where the Jimmy name comes from. Within the context of the story, he's a former battle robot in the Empire's army who's been repurposed as a farming robot on Velt. If you're making Star Wars metaphors, it'd be kind of like a battle droid being repurposed to a farming droid. There's a bunch of other scenes in the other trailers too, like you see a bunch of the Imperial royal family characters. Carrie Elways plays the actual Emperor. Fra Free is playing the Regent Belisarius. I think this younger girl here might actually be a flashback. This might be like a young version of Korra. Not totally sure about this. But you see him being crowned, so there might be some Game of Thrones-y aspect to what's actually happening on the Imperial throne world with him actually taking power, taking control of the Empire. Since the movie is coming out pretty soon, we'll probably get a couple more trailers with some more footage just explaining a little bit more about what's actually happening during the movie. Like I said, this is just meant to be part 1, explaining most of the origin of these characters and how the actual fight begins. In part 2, we'll wrap up at least this battle. Because they are trying to turn it into a larger franchise, there'll probably be some moment that they end on in part 2 that will spin up into something much bigger. Early theory, they'll have like their own version of an Empire Strikes Back kind of ending, pushing into whatever the next film might be. There's a bunch of other crazy stuff going on in the trailer that they haven't explained yet, so hopefully future footage will just explain or provide some more context for that. There's a bunch of big stuff coming out this week, so make sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss anything. Click here for my full Loki Season 2 Episode 6 finale video, and click here for that other really big Rebel Moon trailer video with a bunch of different footage. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.